Welcome to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter, the show that takes a look at the events and what's happening all around Putnam County, as well as interviews with local, community, and business leaders. And now, sharing his insights and experience, here's Today in Putnam County with County Mayor Randy Porter.
Thanks for joining us this week. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter, and this is Today in Putnam County. My guest this week is David Downs. You may not know that name like I do. You may know him as Freaky Dave. He's one of the radio personalities here on KISS FM, and we're glad to have him with us today. And we're going to talk about Freaky Dave and how you got the name and what brought you to Tennessee. Thanks for being on the show.
Randy, thank you. Honestly, my mom doesn't even call me David Downs anymore. I'm just known as Freaky Dave. So it's like that name's gone now, and the new name is here. So
so let's just start there. How is that a stage name that you came up with, or how'd you come up with the Freaky Dave?
Kind of. I'm proud to say that with the Randy Porter Show, I'm probably the most tattooed person that you've ever had on the show. So I'm proud of that. No, back in the day when I first got into radio out of college, I was in radio in college, but then, got back to Cookeville, and Marty McFly gave me a chance to work on the Country Giant, and just through a course of several adventures, I should say, finally Scooter called me back in. I actually worked here for about a year and a half in promotions and on the Country Giant, and then I left for a little while, did some work in publishing, and then was actually working for a subsidiary of the TBI, of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation in Nashville, called Regional Organized Crime Information Center. And Scooter called me one night and said, "Hey, I heard you're back in town." Of course, Scooter was the program director of Magic 98.5 back in the day.
Then, yeah.
So we went out to lunch, went to Cosmos, which isn't here anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. And said, I want to bring you back on board. And that's what kind of led to everything. And I was, you were talking about how I do it all, Randy. I mean, for, I'd say at least a year, I was working in Nashville off Bradley Parkway from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, driving back I-40 because I was living here in Cookeville, and then doing the night show from 7 to midnight.
Wow.
No sleep, which is probably why the gray's all coming out. But
when you're young, you can kind of do that. Think about trying to do that. And I'm not saying you're old. I'm not saying that.
No, I am old. No more energy drinks, no more Mountain Dews, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, think about doing that now. I mean, that'd be tough.
They didn't have 5-hour energy back then.
No, that's right.
So anyway, they talked to me about doing the night show and the name, the moniker I'd want to use, and came up with several different ideas. Do I still use the one I was using in Knoxville, et cetera, et cetera? And Scooter said, you're one of the only guys, and this is really before it became popularized in media or just in society, period, where, you had some tattoos, you had, your ears pierced, even though I don't wear earrings anymore, your nose was pierced, Freaky Dave. And I immediately said no.
No,
that's like creepy. Okay. And he's like, no, man, you can eventually take it to, just the freak. And that's just branding galore. And I sat there and thought about it. And there was an album by Silverchair, a 90s rock band called The Freak Show. And I'm like, oh, okay, there you go. The Freak Show. And that's how it all
started.
That's how it all came to pass.
And then it just stuck. I mean, I'd say most people, they don't know your real name.
They have no idea.
They have no idea.
They have no idea.
I mean, I see people out all the time, and if your name's brought up, Freaky Dave, I've never heard anybody say, yeah, that's David Downs.
No idea.
They don't know.
I mean, even when I go back to White County High School where I graduated from, I'm surprised they haven't, the picture, the class of 1993, I'm surprised they haven't, scratched off David Downs and put in Freaky Dave right there and with all the class photos,
So you were born in California. You were born and raised in California to
Actually,
start with,
I was born in Memphis.
Memphis?
Yeah.
Well, you somehow got out to California, though, right?
My dad's a Church of Christ minister. In addition to, of course, long time being the guidance counselor over at Northeast Elementary School. He's retired now. But my dad's always had a calling for the ministry since I was in the womb, before I was in the womb. So we moved out to La Habra, California, Orange County. And we moved out there when I was 3. My sister was just born.
Wow.
And didn't come back to Tennessee till halfway through my freshman year of high school. So I have my wife, when I met her, and she's from Spencer, Rock Island. and she lived out in California, in Southern California, for a year or two. And when I first met her, she's like, "You're the most Californian redneck I've ever met in my life."
That was a compliment, though,
Oh,
right?
I have a T-shirt now that's Californian redneck. I wear it proudly. But yeah, I grew up in California. My dad was a minister, and he was working on his doctorate out at Claremont University, and that's how it all came to pass.
So did the ministry bring him back to Cookeville?
Oh yeah. All my family's on this side of the Mississippi,
Yeah.
and there's no one on the western side of the Mississippi River that we're related to. So family's out here. So we moved back here mainly for family, and finally got back to Sparta, Tennessee. And
You were big in sports, right?
oh yeah.
And I mean, I think you probably thought you might have had a career in sports, right?
Oh no. I mean,
Not that big?
well, I'll tell you a funny story, Randy. You'll laugh at this. So when I first moved here, I was a big soccer player
Yeah.
out in California. Never played football. And we just hired his first name was Brad. I forgot his last name. But anyway, he had just got hired as assistant football coach at White County High School, and he started coming to my dad's church, and we had a fellowship or something at someone's house, and he came up to me and said, "So you used to play soccer?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "So you can kick a soccer ball pretty far, can't you?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." He's like, "Have you ever kicked a football?" And I'm like, "No, sir." So the next day he has me out on the field kicking field goals, and all of a sudden, you have a kid that's kicking 40, 45-yard field goals, and never had any training on it, anything like that, and that's what started my football career, and that led to, of course, not just White County High School, but playing at Maryville College.
Yeah. So what happened? Why did I hear that you had some kind of sports injury or something bad happen?
Well, it was an injury. It wasn't sports related. We would go out. This was my sophomore year. We would go out when it snows in Maryville. It's East Tennessee.
Yeah.
We were all in the cafeteria, and all the football, basically the whole football team, I guess you can call it winter drills, although the NCAA would probably frown upon it, is we would go out to a place called Lloyd's Beach at Maryville College, which is, 4 or 5 football fields big,
Yeah.
and play football. I mean, hardcore smash mouth, no pad
Yeah.
football.
Old-timey football.
Oh, yeah. And one night we were out there playing, and a guy named Kevin Turner, he's a doctor in Crossville now, pulled up in his Bronco with an inner tube on the back. And my roommate, Matt, jumped on, and I got mad because he was on it first. I jumped on it and got slung into a tree going about 55 miles an hour. So after 4 life-saving surgeries, 2 blood transfusions, being dead for I don't even know how long, 10, 15 minutes, they were able to bring me back, and mouth wired shut from broken jaw. They had to reconstruct my leg, and
Wow.
and football's over at that point.
You're a miracle walking, aren't you?
I'm the bionicle man. I mean, not many people can say, most of my leg is titanium. So
Yeah. And you did your career, though, in playing football?
yeah, the doctor said, "Listen, you break your leg again, it's coming off."
That's,
So,
wow, that is
and I never
amazing.
had, I never had dreams and aspirations of playing.
Football wasn't it,
professional.
right?
No, I mean, you see a lot of these kids, and you can tell some of them are made for Division I's, just like some are made for Division III.
Right.
I was recruited by Tennessee Tech. I was recruited by MTSU, but I found I really wanted to get a good education because I knew that's my future. That was
Yeah.
my future, not
Not
the
sports.
hope, pipes, and dreams of I mean, how many people get drafted in the NFL?
Oh,
None.
yeah, it's a small number.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So went to Maryville College because I wanted to get a good education, and did. Everything that who I am today is a direct reflection of my time that I spent there for 4 years, and the friendships that have endured all these years.
That's amazing. Hey, we're talking with Freaky Dave, Kiss FM. He does the morning show from, 5 to 10 a.m. or something in the morning?
5 to 10. I'm also on the Eagle, our classic hit station from 10 to 3.
That's just crazy. We're going to talk about a lot of that and the shows and how those came about, but we got to take a break. Stay with us.
And now back to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.
Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great week. My guest this week, you know him as Freaky Dave. His real name is David Downs. That's how I know him, but I think everybody knows him by Freaky Dave because of his radio shows. He's on Kiss FM. He's on 106.1 The Eagle. He's one of our great radio personalities here in Putnam County.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
We're talking about how you, growing up, how you got here and all those kind of things. What made you want to get into radio? Was there something that sparked that interest?
Randy, before my senior year of college, I don't know if they still do it, but they do a summer internship program. And at that time, they picked 10 seniors, and basically they find you an employment for the summer before your senior year of college, to get experience. Yeah. And that's what I recommend to a lot of high school kids. I mean, the more experience you have, the better off you're going to be long term. And I didn't really know. I have a degree in writing communications, so I didn't know, journalism, publishing, of course, influencers, and that whole aspect didn't exist at that time. So the group in the radio group in Knoxville, one of the radio groups, they got me an internship doing promotions there, and Boomsday, their big firework display. I was in county meetings, city meetings for that whole crazy event that they still do out in Knoxville. My job that summer for Broomsday I was on a golf cart bringing drinks and beverages to the different vendors and ice and everything else, and making sure all these paid people, the people that paid to be there, were happy and blah, blah, blah.
You were in the middle of the action, though.
Oh yeah. But did that for 3 months. And then the great thing about it is, it's not like you made a lot of money. You're getting experience, which the school paid half. And back then it was like $4 an hour.
Which was not bad money back then, probably.
Yeah. Now you couldn't go to McDonald's for that.
Right.
But, and then they gave you a place to live for the summer and cafeteria and everything else. So it was a win-win. All my friends, my best buds, we all lived together that summer, stayed on campus, had a great time. Went to Lollapalooza. Just did a lot of fun stuff, but it was a blessing because after that internship ended, he's passed away now, Jeff Jacoby, who was the general manager out there. And of course, really big in the volunteer, broadcast network.
Right.
He called me in and said, we don't have the money to keep you on, but our production assistant just quit. So if you would like to work your senior year here, we would love to have you part-time.
Wow. So,
I learned the promotion aspect for 3 months in a major radio market, and now the production aspect, which is the commercials and everything else you hear. Back then, we didn't have all these fancy computers and ChatGPT. You're writing it. My job was to put, all these spots on cart machines, and so it was a grind.
Yeah.
And eventually, Rich Bailey, who I believe is still in the Knoxville market. I know he's not with the radio group that's there now, but he came in and started letting me do some stuff on the air, and that's where you caught the bug, the radio bug that everybody in radio will tell you about. Once you're in radio, you'll never be out of radio.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So you do the morning show.
Yeah.
5 hours.
Yep.
Then you turn around and you do a midday show.
It's 5 hours.
And then you turn around and you do a show out in Lawrence, Kansas.
5 hours.
That's 15 hours of radio a day.
Yeah.
I do not know. I know everything's computerized now and all that kind of stuff, but still, finding the stuff to talk about and to do that much radio, that's got to be tough.
Randy, it's time management, honestly. We have multiple what we call show prep sites.
Yeah.
So I probably spend at least an hour every day prepping for the next day.
Yeah.
Coming up with topics, statistics. I'm really big on lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what people want to hear about.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and producing bits, once it's all said and done, I probably spend about 3 to 4 hours a day just getting the next show's days ready.
Right.
Or coming in on the weekends, and hustling and getting stuff done.
Did you, when you started it, I know you've been doing this for a long time, did you think it would be so successful? You don't know in radio, do you, when you're doing something that how long it's going to last, or you've got all these disc jockeys, and I think back about Coyote McLeod and all these folks that Wolfman Jack and all these.
I'll tell you a funny story about Coyote. So you know, guys that I grew up in radio with, Marty McFly, Gator Harrison, Scooter, you know, all these cats that really laid the foundation for my career. They got the same kind of treatment from Coyote back in the day with the Y107 days in Nashville. So one day Marty's like, we're taking a field trip. This was years ago. Of course, Coyote has passed, but so we load up and we drive to the lake to Coyote's houseboat. Now the price of admission was a bottle of vodka.
Wow.
And to this day, I don't know how he did it, but Coyote had a coffee mug and poured straight vodka in there. And we sit up there at the top of the houseboat and just did nothing but let Coyote tell us stories. And I mean, you want to talk about, I mean, we all sit here to this day going, why did we not record
that? Wouldn't that have been amazing?
Because it was radio legacy gold.
Yeah.
Just the stories that Coyote had to say. And of course, as you said, radio always changes.
Yeah.
You know,
but you changed with it though, right?
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. You get left behind.
So, I remember listening to him, and of course, I was born and raised in Macon County, and so we picked up his station, and I mean, he was big. When I'm driving to Vol State to college, I'm listening to Coyote McLeod and thinking he's just...
he's no doubt arguably the biggest Tennessee radio personality that this state's ever had.
Well, you're locally though. You're the I call you the Coyote McLeod of Cookeville, though. I mean, you've done so well with all the shows and the radio personalities and fitting into our community.
Well, I'll say this, you know, and I've had some great mentors, you know, guys like Marty who have been in radio their whole life. Of course, Marty is now in Nashville. Gator, who's now in Nashville. Scooter, who's been in Nashville. Duke, who's back with us, who was my music director or my assistant program director when I first started as music director with Scooter. You know, I've had a lot of very influential people that have always, you know, looked out for me, given me great advice. Then you talk about Philip Gibbons. Goodness gracious, 50 years?
Yeah.
50
Amazing
years. I'm Randy, next year I hit 30 years in radio.
Yeah. And that's a huge success.
That doesn't happen in radio anymore.
I don't know if anybody
does not
anymore.
exist. And you know, and I'll say this, I'll give full credit to the people out there in our community. I've been in multiple radio markets, and every market's different.
Yeah.
In whatever way, shape, or form, but there's something special about Cookeville and the Upper Cumberland. And we saw that when the tornado happened in 2000.
Absolutely.
You know, the tornado, I don't even know if you know this, that's my neighborhood, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I live right on the corner of Plunkwitson and McBroom Chapel. So
that was the eye of the storm?
I was right there.
Wow.
That night.
It's a terrible night.
The majority of the people, you know, and that perished on that day were my neighbors and knew them.
Oh, yeah.
Hung out with them. And just the outpouring of love and support just from that.
Have you ever seen anything like that anywhere else?
I have never seen anything like that, honestly.
You know, I knew we lived in a great community, but when that happened, of course, we're working like crazy. We're in rescue mode and trying to. We got 19 killed. We got over 100 injured. We got all these homes, hundreds of homes destroyed, and then we got all these people wanting to help. And so the next day after the tornado, we decided, okay, we're going to open it up, let some of the people come in, and you know, we'll get them together down at Hobby Lobby, you know, and organize them. And you know, we thought, hey, we get 200 or 300 people, you know.
And for weeks, you know, people, because I was, you know, working my butt off at the radio station that week, doing the relief efforts and the radiothon we did and everything, but also running over to the supply depot over next to Avery Trace and picking up stuff from my neighbors, taking my truck over there and loading the whole back up and delivering them to my neighbors so they could stay at home and work. And then once you get off of work, you know, you're
it's constant 24/7.
You're rolling your sleeves up and getting busy and you know, helping to clean up. You know,
well, and that was the thing about that day, you know, like I said, we were expecting 200 or 300 people. We shut down all the streets in the city because there were so many people that were coming there to want to help. And we had thousands.
And I would sit there and people were driving up into my driveway constantly, giving me free food. And I'm like, guys, I give this food to them over here. They don't have anything left.
Wanted to help, though, didn't they?
But it was awesome. It was special. That
showed me, and I think it did you too. I knew we lived in a great community, but that iced the cake. That told me I don't ever want to live anywhere else.
I never want to live anywhere else.
We live in a great place.
I want to stay right here.
We got to take a break.
Yeah.
You're listening today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. More with Freaky Dave, one of our local radio personalities. After this, stay with us.
And now back to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.
Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great week. My guest this week is Freaky Dave. I know him by David Downs, but you know him by Freaky Dave. He's one of our radio personalities here in Putnam County. KISS FM 106.1 Eagles. He's out in our community doing his DJ Freak Productions. I mean, you're just the freak show, right?
It's constant. It never ends.
I don't know how you do it all, Dave.
It's love, honestly. As we sit here today and do this, I'm DJing an 8th grade formal tonight in Crossville. I'm doing another one tomorrow night in Rock Island. I love getting to be a part of
the communities.
Well, not just the community, but people's stories.
Yeah.
I love doing a wedding, and 10 years later, you run on these people at Walmart.
Later, 10 years later,
and they have two little babies, a toddler and a baby in the cart, and here we go.
Remember us, you know, our wedding, you know. And you hear those stories. That's amazing.
It means something, and that's why I love doing it.
That's why I think that people love you, Philip Gibbons, the folks that get out and go into the community, and they're doing all these things, and they're with the people, and that's what they want. They listen to you on the radio, but they want to see you. They want to be able to meet you.
Randy, sometimes I feel like I need to see a therapist because I go home and go, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more, and because there's such a need, and especially in the world we live in right now. I say this on the radio, on all the shows all the time. It costs absolutely nothing to say thank you or to be nice to somebody.
Yeah, respectful.
And we're all human. We all like our own private time, our personal time. But part of the price you pay to do the job we do is, my wife hates it. She hates it when we're at Walmart or Food Line or whatever, and someone comes up and wants to talk to Freaky Dave about whatever. But it is what it is.
Part of it, isn't it?
Part of it, yeah.
Let's talk about her. You found the love of your life, right, Ashley?
I did, yeah. Been married almost 2 years now. She's been a blessing. I can honestly tell you, Randy, I think it's fair to say she has saved my life in a lot of ways, especially with her healthcare experience from the health standpoint, because she really has cracked the whip on some stuff to get me healthier. But she's a blessing. Right now, she's finishing up her nurse practitioner degree.
That's amazing.
I'll still work in ICU at the hospital, and I have 3 wonderful stepkids that I'm just massively in love with, and we've been gardening, and we planning
You're doing
trips.
The whole family thing now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's a sweet person. I knew her from the ICU. That's working at the hospital. You got married in Montana.
Oh, yeah.
Why Montana? What was the deal there?
Well, I've always wanted to go to Little Bighorn. I'm a big history nut. Most people, of course, they listen to me on the radio and think I'm an idiot. I love to read. I read constantly. My favorite place is McKay's, and anybody that knows me knows if I go to McKay's, I'm buying 20 or 30 books.
Wow.
I read all the time. I have books in every room of my house. I got yelled at by the wife earlier today because of my clutter from books laying around. But I love, historical biographies, anything about history, Civil War. Of course, I'm a big Titanic nut. I know we'll talk about that in a minute. But I love to read, and it's just what I do.
How was the wedding in Montana? Was it more of a private thing?
Yeah, you could say it was an elopement if you want to define it as such, but I've always studied Custer's last battle, Little Bighorn.
Yeah.
My mom has been able to trace my mom's last name before she married my dad was Custer, so I am related to George Custer. So I've been reading books about the Battle of Little Bighorn since I was a little boy. And
so get married there.
Well, and Ashley's like, why don't we go to Montana and get married there? And you can go to Little Bighorn. So yeah, the day after we got married,
2 birds with 1 stone there.
The day after we got married on Yellowstone River, we were driving 3 hours to Little Bighorn, and I was in my element. I mean,
it is great.
You'll laugh at this. If anybody, like I said, knows me, they know I love history. We didn't start at Last Stand Hill. We drove the 3.5, 4 miles to the very end, the Reno Benteen encampment, and worked
your way back
the way the battle unfolded.
Yeah.
Because I know every little moment, of what happened, and to sit there on Last Stand Hill and see where General Custer and his brother supposedly dropped on that fateful day, and Audie, and I mean, there's so much history that
And to be able to share it with your new wife, I mean, it's amazing, right?
Oh yeah, that's a whole other story. I'm not going to say right now, but let me tell you, there were some liberties I gave her that day so that she could actually enjoy her time, because she had
she wasn't into all that stuff.
Care less.
You wrote a book. I thought I knew most everything about you, but you wrote a book.
Yeah.
Titanic trivia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that. I mean, how did that come about?
When I was a little boy, probably 7, 8, maybe 9 years old, around there, I became fascinated with Titanic. This is before Robert Ballard found Titanic in '85 and went back and explored her in '86, and then the movie and blah blah blah. I have loved Titanic since as far back as I can remember. I used to go to the Orange County Library and get every book about Titanic and read it cover to cover, and then check them back out and read them again and read them again. Titanic has been a lifelong fascination. You talk about bucket list. Bighorn was one of them.
Yeah.
Titanic is the number one. Of course, my wife has now said, of course, with what has happened in the past couple of years with submersibles exploding.
Yeah. You probably always wanted to do that, didn't you?
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I figured.
I would do it in a heartbeat to lay my eyes on Titanic. So back real fast, my senior advisor, you have to do a senior thesis at Rebel College, and I wanted to do a creative senior thesis based on Titanic, which was I was going to do a love story a lot. I mean, and I still have the notes when I did this back in 1991, 92, before James Cameron Titanic. If you opened up my notes and then watched the movie, you'd be like, okay, did James Cameron steal this from you? Because it was going to be a romance, where people fall in love on Titanic, blah, blah. And anyway, so Ken Beck, who was an editor at the time with the Tennessean, his wife and my mom were college roommates. And he knew I loved Titanic, so he called me up and said, let's do a book. And this was right when the movie was coming out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, sir, let's do this. So 6 weeks of writing and pre-production, then it gets published, and it's out there in the world. And it's, as far as to my knowledge, it's still available. It goes with all the exhibits worldwide.
Isn't that amazing?
All over the world.
You're a jack of all trades.
I guess.
Dave, I guess. Is there, I mean, you think about your life and all that you've done. I mean, you had an amazing career, done a lot of things. Is there something on that bucket list that that's sticking out there that you say, I want to do this? This has got to be something I do while I'm still here.
Well, I mean, take out going to Titanic.
Yeah, I think that's pretty over with right now, as long as Ashley's around. Yeah.
One thing I want to do is spend more time traveling with my wife. I'm a workaholic, and she is too. We just want to go out and see beautiful places. I want to get back out west, Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, and just explore.
Just drive and go.
Explore. I'm like the Truman Show, Jim Carrey in that movie where, I'm the little explorer. But I love waterfalls. I love seeing beautiful places. And
well, we're blessed with that here in this. You're at the right place, aren't we?
We are. And I go, trust me, I have all kinds of secret spots I go to constantly. And Roaring River is my happy place.
It is. That's a beautiful place. Actually, he gave the right answer there. He wants to spend more time with you and go traveling. So that's good.
And I want to, stay here and continue to, what we call build the legacy.
Yeah.
And I've had a great mentor over all these years with Philip Gibbons. And
you're that mentor now, though. With the younger folks that are coming on now.
I hope so. I hope that's what they'll say in my last days. But I love radio. I love our community. I love what we get to do. Thank you, Mr. Porter, for everything. I've told you this many times. Thank you, and Lauren and Ricky and just everybody in this community. What all you guys do. You guys have a hard job.
Well, and it's what they say, if you love your job, it's never work.
Exactly.
And you're the same way. You love what you do,
I love what I do.
It shows. And so I appreciate everything that you've done for our community and continue to do. And y'all tune in and listen to him 5 to 10 a.m. every morning, right?
Yep, on 98.5 KISS FM, 10 to 3 on 106.1 The Eagle. And then if you happen to be out in Lawrence, Kansas, I'm on 2 to 7 there on 105.9 KISS.
Or if you need some DJ stuff, DJ Freak Productions, right?
DJing all the time.
That's right. Dave, thanks for being on the show. I
Randy,
appreciate
thank you.
Hey, that's our show for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll be with us every week for Today in Putnam County. Be good, be safe, and may God continue to bless Putnam County.
You've been listening to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.